We walk a fine line, searching for the answers in our heads. But unfortunately, we discover more questions than answers, and find that searching deeper into ourselves can become a dangerous endeavor. We find ourselves trapped beneath the weight of thoughts and accept this pain as comfort, latching onto its nipple to taste despair and suckle on the nourishment of lunacy, so we nurture on the notion that this will bring us closer to mental clarity. Is this foolishness or human nature? What are we searching for, and does it even exist? Let me tell you a story. There once lived a king whose kingdom stretched far beyond the Blue Springs and across the Sahara Desert, filled with wealth and prosperity. But what truly gave the king power was the love of his people, which never seemed to fade from their hearts. In his kingdom, no one suffered from hunger because he nourished their minds before providing them with bread and honey. The king embodied love in all his actions and did not let his ego get in the way of serving his people. He lived by what he called the 5 elements of being a king. The first element was to connect his spirit to everything he was entrusted to uphold, allowing it to reflect in his action. The second element was to never let mercy and greed wage war within his mind and soul. Instead, he shared his bread with his brother and quenched the thirst of his sister's thirst with power of recognition. The third element is to maintain strong roots that can withstand the powerful force of a raging river. While you may waver, you will never be toppled. Additionally, those who dedicate their lives to preserving your kingdom's legacy are more than mere servants. They are also your teachers. And those who represent your kingdom's legacy are students, as even a king must abide by the universal law that he must provide a fertile and nourishing foundation for growth and development. The king must also recognize and value the labor of those who nurture his kingdom's well-being. There is a servant in the leader and a leader in the servant. The fifth element is a deeply personal and untangled aspect that resides within the soul. It is a journey of self-discovery, and its existence and significance may vary for each individual. The king shared these 5 elements with all who lived in his kingdom, but even he could not escape nature's unrelenting grasp. As his days drew to an end, the king summoned his most loyal servant to carry out his last testament, to divide his worldly possessions among those who would continue his kingdom's legacy. The king's loyal servant arrived at his bedside, sinking to his knees with tears in his eyes. The air was heavy with the weight of the final ruling, and the servant knew he must immortalize the words as they were spoken. The king declared that 5/10 of his wealth be divided among his 2 sons, Barko and Emeka. It was the king's belief that both sons should rule together, creating a balance within the kingdom. He wished for them to travel among their people, to understand and connect with them on a deeper level and share their spirit with them. They would build a world of truth based on the 5 elements and their purpose within it. The king urged them to question life and confront the enemy of logic that often blinded people from their true purpose. As they journeyed, the brothers would balance each other's perspectives and find their own truths. The king's final words were whispered to the servant: "Make sure that 5/10 of my wealth remain in the hands of my loving people. They will decide who will inherit this treasure." With those words, the king closed his eyes and departed for the afterlife. However, as with life, there are twists and turns, and greed always has its place at the table. Hidden in the shadows of his father's room, Bako saw an opportunity for power. With a swift hand, he took the life of the loyal servant and ordered him to be discarded in the Sahara sands. Bako's mind was consumed with thoughts of power and wealth as he believed himself to be the rightful ruler of his father's kingdom. But as he plotted and schemed to gain control, a nagging feeling of guilt gnawed at him. He knew that his actions were selfish and would surely hurt his brother Emeka, who had always been kind and generous. Despite this inner turmoil, Bako couldn't resist sending for Emeka, hoping to use his brother for his own gain. Emeka's eyelids fluttered open, and he found himself being jostled back and forth on the back of a camel. The hot desert sun beat down on him as they traveled for what felt like hours. Eventually, they came to a stop in front of a large river and towering mountains. Bako's soldiers helped Emeka off the camel and handed him a letter. With trembling hands, Emeka read the words written in elegant script. "To my beloved son, Bako, I leave all of my wealth upon my passing." A chill ran down Emeka's spine as he realized the true reason for his sudden abduction. Despite Bako's benevolence, he only granted his brother control over the desolate land. It may have been bound by water and mountains, but it lacked any signs of life. Emeka was also gifted with 5 goats, 3 donkeys, 20 gold pieces, 2 buckets of feed, and their father's chest filled with luxurious linen and books. As the firstborn, Bako believed it was only fair for him to be the sole ruler. Little did they know, destiny had a different path in store for these brothers and their kingdom. As the men departed for Bako's new kingdom, the setting sun painted the sky a golden hue. Emeka was left alone to watch its descent, sitting by the crackling fire and lost in his own thoughts. Why was this happening to him? He couldn't understand why he had been cast aside like an insignificant piece in his father's legacy. His brother was consumed by greed, tarnishing their father's once glorious kingdom. How could the Creator allow such corruption to thrive? Emeka's heart was filled with frustration and confusion as he contemplated these questions. Emeka's fury erupted as he leapt to his feet and kicked his father's chest, shouting curses at the sky. As he surveyed the contents now strewn about, something caught his attention, a scrap of paper that had been overlooked in the chaos. His fingers closed around it, and he saw that it was a piece of paper with the 5 elements needed to become a king. The 5th element was never revealed by his father. Emeka had heard about the 5 elements repeatedly, yet he never comprehended their significance. His father always maintained that the 5th element was unique to each ruler and should be demonstrated through their deeds rather than expressed in words. Regardless, Emeka was fixated on discovering what his father's 5th element was and how it would manifest itself within him. With a fierce determination to uncover the truth, Emeka embarked on a journey that took him across his father's vast lands. He followed the teachings of his father and relied on the 4 known elements as he searched for the mysterious 5th one. Along the way, as the seasons changed and he encountered new landscapes, Emeka gained valuable wisdom and acquired wealth through trade. After much contemplation, he made the decision to go back to his desolate homeland. When he reached the river that served as its boundary, a small gathering of individuals stood waiting for him. They were men, women, and children whose appearances showed the toll of living in the unforgiving desert environment. As he approached them, a couple stepped forward, a woman guiding a man towards Emeka. "King Emeka," he said with a tremble in his voice, "we come to you in need. These are my family and friends. We have been accused by King Bako of hiding treasure, and as punishment, he has taken all of our land and livestock. We were cast out of our homeland and forced to wander aimlessly through the unforgiving desert. Despite our hardships, we come bearing gifts and offer our labor as a form of gratitude. I, once the trusted advisor and philosopher to your father's kingdom, was responsible for seeking out truth and imparting knowledge upon the council." Emeka inquired about his past life, to which he replied with a sense of nostalgia. "I was a humble farmer who tended to sweet potatoes and raised livestock, but those days are long gone. Now, my eyes have failed me, and my hands are no longer as strong as they used to be. Please, allow me to help my people in any way that I can." Emeka listened intently to the man's words and was moved by his earnest plea. "Your blindness may have taken away your physical abilities, but you have gained a second pair of eyes through your loving wife who now guides you. And with her guidance, you have become the leader to your family and friends. Your skills are still valuable, and I ask that you counsel me and these people. Do not let your knowledge perish. Instead, pass it down to future generations so that they may thrive. The blind man's face lit up with gratitude, but before Emeka could fully process the encounter, he heard faint sound behind him. When he turned around, he saw a man kneeling before him, one of the soldiers who had brought him to this land. "King," he began, with regret and shame in his voice, "please forgive me for my actions towards you. I loved your father deeply and faithfully served his kingdom, but your brother convinced us that you were plotting against everything your father had built." With tears in his eyes, the soldier offered his weapon to Emeka as a sign of his remorse. "I am willing to give my life for my transgressions against you and for breaking the laws your father entrusted me with. But please, allow my soldiers a chance to follow a true leader, one who embodies humility and is willing to sacrifice himself for those he serves." Emeka couldn't help but laugh at the soldier's dramatic display. "My friend, leaders are not immune to making mistakes. The difference is in how they handle them, admitting to them and taking action to rectify them. Your men have found a leader in you, one who has shown humility and selflessness. I would be honored to have you and your men by my side. My king, I would be honored to protect your land. Unfortunately, I lost one of my legs due to your brother's hunger for power. However, these men are youthful and strong." Emeka steps forward and aids the injured soldier in standing up. "Take my donkey so that you will have 5 legs at your disposal, and with your leadership, these young soldiers will be even more formidable." The soldier was overcome with emotion and thanked Emeka profusely. As the seasons passed, the once barren land began to flourish under the guidance of their new king. The balance of life was restored as the people nurtured the land, and it, in turn, provided for its people. But it was during one particularly eventful season that Emeka's life would change forever. A beggar stumbled into the kingdom, his face filled with desperation and need. But as he looked up, the people gasped in recognition. Their previous ruler, Bako, had selfishly driven them out of their land in pursuit of wealth and control. The bitter taste of betrayal lingered on Emeka's tongue as he glared at Bako, remembering how his own brother had turned against him for power and greed. Emeka stayed silent, struggling with conflicting emotions. On one hand, Bako's actions had caused great sorrow and hardship for the people, but on the other hand, his presence now showed just how far they had come as a kingdom without him. Emeka couldn't help but laugh at the irony of it all. As he stared into the crowd, he knew that his own journey through the land had taught him the true value of his people's love, embodied in his newfound discovery of the 5th element. He had built a new kingdom with this knowledge, and now he was being given the opportunity to pass it on to Bako. But could he really trust his brother? Would he truly embrace this new perspective, or use it for his own selfish desires? These thoughts weighed heavily on Emeka's mind as he made his decision. Emeka's eyes bore into Bako's, searching for any glimmer of sincerity in his brother's gaze. The people held their breath, waiting for Emeka's next move. After a long moment of contemplation, Emeka stepped forward, his voice clear and unwavering. "Bako, you have come back to a prosperous kingdom. We have rebuilt what you sought to destroy, not with greed, but with compassion and unity. I offer you a chance at redemption, a chance to embrace the 5 elements that has guided me in leading our people." Bako's expression shifted from one of surprise to one of disbelief. He had expected anger and retribution, not this unexpected offer of forgiveness. As Bako was given supplies, his hands trembled and his eyes filled with tears. His ragged clothes and unkempt appearance showed the struggles of his journey. Emeka's decision to extend this olive branch to his brother was met with murmurs and exchanged glances among the crowd. The kingdom watched with mixed emotions, some still holding resentment and skepticism towards him, while others cautiously hoped that Bako does find redemption. What is your perspective?